Hi, I'm Kevin Hill, and today we're going to do a beautiful seascape with bright, vivid colors. It should be a lot of fun, and if you're enjoying this and you'd like to see more, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more painting videos. All right, let's get started. Now I'm just finishing up putting on my clear gel and white just above this piece of masking tape. And as you guys probably already know, that just gives us a straight horizon line. All right, so let's go ahead and get some sunset colors going. I'm just going to go right over here to my yellows and my red. Let's see what that does. That's way too scraping that. Good thing there's nothing up there. Get a little white in that just because it seems kind of too vivid. Let's see what this does for us. I'm going to put this right there. Now our sun is going to be somewhere right in this spot. Looks about right. So we'll just go kind of around it. All right, that seems okay. Let's actually bring this orange all the way out and a little bit more to the red side as we go to the left. Okay, this is good. Kind of allowing it to mix with the clear gel and white. See how that softens the color a little? That's good. Of course, we don't have too much on there, otherwise it would soften it too much, right? Just a little. I'm going to float this right along the bottom. We are going to have some cliffs on this side, so kind of a waste of time to do too much over there. Just a little more of that red right in here, just for the sake of changing it up. Good. Don't worry about your brush strokes yet. All right, that looks halfway decent. Now I'm just gonna wipe the brush out. And before I go in there, I'd like to kind of get some more going up here. So let me just take a little bit of our white and our red. I think I'll just add a pink right here, and then we'll do kind of a purple at the top, just by adding a little more blue to this. There, that looks nice. Lots of color in this painting. Now we're going to come in with our 3/4 brush and drop in the light area. And I'm using just straight yellow and white. That's it. Make it maybe a little more yellow as we go outward. Plus it'll start mixing with everything else that we've got going on here. Now, this is a nice sky to begin with, but it's certainly not too exciting yet. And I think what's going to happen is once we get our clouds in, and we'll be really careful to make our clouds interesting, I think that's going to pop the sky out. I planned on doing clouds, but I think that the clouds are going to be even more important than I originally thought. How's that? See how your plans kind of change as you actually get into the painting? But what's nice about this brush, it's soft and it'll layer. See, we used the 1-inch brush to scrub this in. Now we use this soft little brush to layer paint right over, and look at this. You can make these interesting little, almost clouds to begin with, but you can float that color right over that purple without it becoming too muddy, which is a bonus, isn't it? Nobody likes a muddy sky. There. Get all this at least filled in. That looks decent. And like I said, we got our cliffs there, so whatever, right? There. Cool. Lots and lots of interest in the sky today. All right, let's wipe this brush out really good. I'll take some just straight up white paint right into the middle. Decent amount. You can actually see the brush stroke in that, because I'm going to move this paint out. Plus, I want it to be nice and bright. That looks pretty good. And any clouds that I float over this, I do want them to become lighter, and I do want them to mix with all this that I'm putting down. Otherwise, you would want to limit this a little bit more. There's a lot of paint down. Now I'm going to go ahead and drop in little clouds, and I'm sticking here to my little 3/4 brush. I almost always do this with a filbert, but since this was in my hand, this is what I'm using. There you go. How about that for a real specific reason to use a brush, right? Hey, that's okay. Sometimes it's as simple as that. You don't have to overcomplicate stuff. Sometimes just grabbing any brush that's in your hand and doing it is the best thing to do, because it keeps you kind of going faster. You don't have to stop and think so much. There, that's kind of how this happened. Cool, so I like that. I'm just throwing color in kind of spotty, and then you come back and you kind of feather it if you need to. I don't think any little brush mark that stands out will be too big of a deal. That's why I'm going kind of rough. That looks decent, doesn't it? All right, now maybe up in here. See, I like a lot of this. You got to kind of look and see what you like. I like a lot of that, and I don't really want to lose it, but maybe I'll just grab a little more red. I don't know, throw it up here. Maybe that's not quite red enough for me. There we go, a little bit of blue, a little bit of white. There. There, you gotta make sure you don't make mud, because a lot of these colors here together will make mud. And some of them will make even worse. Some of them will make green. So do kind of watch out and be careful a little bit. There. That looks pretty decent. I like that. So we'll just play around with this. Probably won't take me a whole lot longer. There, I'm just finishing up adding a little extra detail using my detail round brush. Imagine that. Oh boy. And anyway, so a lot of the times we're kind of afraid to leave a couple of brush strokes or bits of texture showing. So what I decided to do was leave a bunch. I don't know if you can tell or not, but it's pretty brush strokey. It's not really rough or not non-refined. It's pretty good as far as that's concerned, but it is pretty brush strokey. And I'm going to leave it that way. So I blended the whole thing, and then I went kind of back over it and gave it a last little highlight with just this brush because it layers on so nicely. And I'm going to leave those strokes in there because it adds a little detail. All right, so that's it. And that helps you make a better, more detailed sky. I'm just going to pull the tape off. That's an easy little horizon line. Now while we're going here, I've got my 1-inch brush and I've got colors, still everything's not been mixed up for the land. So I've got just my sky colors going here. That's important because I'm going to try to replicate some of these colors here in the water. This is dry. There's no medium down here because you see the sky, well, it's soft. It's got some, it's got some hard and soft areas, but for the most part it's soft. But down here we need a lot of detail and we can't have blurry edges all over the place. We got to have sharp detail, and really the only way to get that is by limiting the amount of paint, and it really helps to start with a dry canvas versus a canvas with any kind of medium on it. So there you go. The reason you don't do this in the sky is, number one, it would take you 3 times as long. It's not necessary, see that? And the other thing is you want to have that softness in the sky, so it'll play really nicely against the sharpness of whatever you do in the foreground. Now I'm just finishing up adding on a little bit of yellow and white here. And you see, as crazy as it seems, I'm just highlighting my little wave before anything else goes down, because we're going to put shadows of, like purple, really rich purpley tones and different things. And they tend to eat up the yellows. I mean, you could highlight them, but they'll turn out more gray. The only way to get these super bright yellows, well, okay, not the only way. The easy way to get them is to do it right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to make sure that I like this just as it is, and then we'll put the purples on top. It's kind of going backwards, but it certainly will just make it a little easier. And obviously a lot of these yellows will be eaten up, and that's fine. I'm totally good with that. I don't want them all anyways. That splash may be a little high, but who cares? There we go. And you can also, while you're going, you can also just blend some of these little lines. You see I put a little highlight there, a little darker orangey tone there. Just kind of finishing up with my lights here. There. And I'm going to keep this brush handy because I'm going to do some water down here. So I will keep this brush handy, but for now, let me set it where it's going to stay clean. I'm going to take some purple on another 3/4 brush. I already had this mixed up, ready to go. And it's just a little red and blue. And I'm just going to drop this in right underneath our wave. And you see this area, look at this. I still see some dry canvas. So this goes on super pure. You can add a little black to it. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Now this purple is nice, but you can add a little blue as well. A little more blue. And make it cooler, just in different spots. See how maybe it's cooler going out this direction where there's not so much yellow. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, and maybe back to our red. So I'm going to play around with this and just do all sorts of things. But don't go crazy with one solid color. Change it up. If you've ever painted with me in a class, you know what I tell you, change it every time you reload, right? Just grab a slightly different color. And that looks pretty good. Wipe your brush. This is really what we designed the 3/4 brush for. I mean, now we use it for everything, but when I originally added it to the brush line, because it wasn't there originally, when I ended up adding this brush to the brush line, we've had it for years now, but I added it because of seascapes, because I wanted something that would help me make a more detailed seascape. And this is what we came up with. Look at that. There, of course, now we use it for mountains and lakes and everything. Trees. Whew, is it a good tree brush. Don't know what we did without it those first year or so. Oh, there, look at that. Now, if you get a little sea green in here because of the yellow and the blue, that's okay. We just won't try to get too much of that green. Not in the sunset. If it wasn't sunset, you could have as much green as you want, right? Now, look how easy it is to get these beautiful lights after you put the shadow in. They're right there. You just sort of rub them together and boom, you got your highlight. Isn't that nice? It went from just looking kind of flat to looking pretty good. And it was easy. I just scrubbed in a little purpley shadow, and I was careful to, vary my colors. But now look how easy it is. You just sort of touch it, and you get an instant highlight. I wouldn't call it a highlight before because there was no dark. You cannot have a highlight without dark. You just have flat. But now I think I would call it a highlight. And you can even go back in because you're still dealing with pretty much just yellow. You can still kind of go back in and add to it. I think, there, yeah, see, you can go back over it. But look at how that's a little muddy. It's just the way it is. And I'm going to do an accent highlight while we're standing up here, working on this wave before we go on. Boom, there's my accent highlight. I like that. That easy. Look at that. See how it goes in pretty quick. Oh yeah, that's nice. Adds that extra bit of dimension that we need so badly. Maybe work this down. This is a nice soft brush and it layers really well. As that blends, see that? As that blends with that color and you get that brown, that's okay. That's not really, it's not an ugly brown, and you can come back in with some reds and put it under that. When you're working with a sunset, there's always a little more to think about because you have these kind of different colors playing throughout the painting. I remember when I first learned to paint, you know what I did with a sunset painting? I put blue water. I had a sunset and I did blue water. In fact, maybe we still got some videos of me doing that. Yikes, don't follow those. Actually, just enjoy them. There. I bet you if you look pretty hard, you can find one. That looks pretty good though, doesn't it? There, maybe just a little extra, just blending, little extra highlight right down here. This is really close. Look how nice and dry it is. Very, very, very little paint on the canvas. That's a bonus. Now let's go ahead and paint in the eye of the wave. And you see it's still dry. There's almost nothing on there. And that kind of accidental color we got from just everything kind of, spilling over the edge a little bit. I kind of like that. You see it? That's just one of those things. And the more I've looked at it, the more I like it. So I mixed up a color that I thought was similar. And I'm going to drop it in. Cool. Yeah, that looks good. And then let's go with some more orange tones. As we go back, a little touch of yellow. Maybe a little more yellow right there in the middle. I don't want to make it too subtle, Ooh, right there. Oh, that should be pretty. And then as we go back, a little more of our pink, perhaps. Well, that's going to be nice. Okay, so wipe out my detail round brush really good. And then I'm going to blend using little circles. It's a soft brush. This is an older one. I wouldn't necessarily do this with a brand new one. It's a nice soft brush, but it's not really meant for this, and scrubbing with it kind of gives it a short lifespan. But if you have an old one, then you can do it. There. But otherwise, what I would just recommend is using the blender brush, which is what that brush was made for. Is doing this. In fact, I can show you how to do it with that brush as well. Just take the corner of your blender, actually cleaned this one off really good. And then you just sort of set it right there. And you rotate in circles. Now, as you can see, I dropped in a quick tree and then I went ahead and highlighted, but this is a backlighting highlight. Anyways, so you put the light on, just stamp it right on. Don't go over the trunk too much except for where you want the limbs crossing over. Now here's where it gets tricky. Well, interesting, not tricky. This is where it gets interesting. You take some dark now and you do your darks inside your lights. This is how you create that backlit effect. It's kind of small up there, so it's already kind of mushed in, but right over here, just come right kind of in the middle of your branches, mostly on the right side. The right side, it's not fully backlit. See, if it was right here, it would be fully backlit and it would be symmetrical. As far as the lighting isn't symmetrical because it is a stronger light on the left, but just barely. So get these little darks in. Right down, a little darker in the trunk area. That looks good. Now right here, see how you can just pop those right down the middle. That's important that you leave a kind of a halo around. What that'll do is it makes it just look so beautiful. It makes it kind of glow. Okay, that looks good. Oh yeah, there we go. You can see I added other darks. We'll probably do a little bush over here. Just playing around. It's not really important. I did it pretty quick. There, and I also added little tiny trees to the background to make this seem correct. You've got to tie the painting together somewhat. There. One of the last things that we're going to do to the water here is just take our detail round, which is of course very soft, and try to add just a little bit more highlight here if we can do it. Things are, starting to get a little wet, but maybe if we're careful we can just glop on a little highlight, especially right here on this right hand side. Over here we'll keep it more subtle. I like this. Like, here's a good spot. That worked out pretty good. Oh yeah. And then just blend it right into what you've already got down. That's pretty, isn't it? I like it. And then of course we can add other darks and stuff, details and midtones. Those are easy. I'm just kind of focusing on the light, and then we'll focus on the easy stuff. There. That's really pretty good. I like that. See that? That's just fun, isn't it? Just straight up fun. Take a little pink now and just add that pink in and around. This is kind of our mid-tone, so that's a little easier to manage. There. Let's see, maybe just to even some right up in here. Start to add those little squiggly lines that we all expect to see in a good seascape painting, right? All right, well, I think we're done. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Don't forget to check out our website, DVDs, and brush line. Thanks for watching.